Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another Greensport Talks Battlebots episode review podcast. So, just the two of us here. It might be three of us because Civlian Arc might show up a little bit later, but as of right now, it's just myself and Derin. So, how's it going, Derin?
I'm doing great. Bracket's looking about as shattered as ever, but I'm otherwise good.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised how well I did on the prediction video here. However, I did lose my first Final Four competitor, and it happened to be my predicted runner-up in my bracket. That being Endgame, and yeah, we saw a few shockers in this one, and some robots get payback for previous losses to their opponent. And overall, I thought it was an awesome episode, and it should be a exciting one to discuss. So, uh, yeah, right before we start talking about the first match of the episode, just as a warning, there are spoilers. We are talking about the results, including I've already shared a few, but if you haven't seen the fights yet, I would recommend watching the fights and then come back here and listen to us talk about each match. So let's go ahead and start talking about the first fight of the fight of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so Black Dragon and Ribot. So this was a rematch from a couple seasons ago, 2020 fight that I absolutely loved. We got to see a back and forth brawl, including seeing Black Dragon make history by surviving that fight while on fire for like 2/3 of the match, which was just an incredible sight to see here. So yeah, it was nice to see a rematch between these two pretty evolved machines, and yeah, David Jin talked about how they upped their fort game, like improved those so they're lower to the ground. It makes give them like a better shot at out wedging their opponents. And yeah, this fight did not go exactly how I expected it to. Like the result isn't exactly. I wouldn't say the results exactly was unexpected because like I did have Black Dragon, but I was unconfident on that, seeing that Ribot could absolutely do it with how Ribot's been massacring opponents. But the thing that I was not expecting is I wasn't expecting this to end in a knockout. I thought this was going to go to the judges, just seeing both these robots have just such insane durability. But Ribot got the job done pretty well, and yeah. So my fight summary then being, since we'll let Derin go second, started out pretty even, but then Ribot got the first few big hits and crippled Black Dragon's ground game abilities, and I think that's just really when the fight turned. Several more huge shots from Ribot's vertical spinner, and that ended up being the end for Black Dragon. Not sure exactly what it is that halted them, but I'm sure Derin might have something and involved in that. But regardless, though, like it doesn't shock me too much that Black Dragon got knocked out exactly. Like even though it was kind of unexpected to me, just because that vertical spinner is nasty on Ribot, and those hits were just no joke that they were landing on Black Dragon, and like nice to see Ribot continue to have success this season after the rough start they had. So, you want to talk about the match then, Darren?
That was a pretty good fight. I kind of thought this would like be a repeat of last time these two met, where Black Dragon caught fire and still won the match. Oh, Ribot managed to actually pull out a victory and KO Black Dragon, like barely KO. Like even in the Riptide fight, Black Dragon still had like a single wheel that was still operational. It was just off the floor. Fight. They were on the floor, but both wheels were just dead. Like the entire robot was just dead. Damn. That's
Yeah,
just impressive. I gotta be. That's just impressive. Redbot manages to get ahead. They just got more better hits. Redbot really taking the second chance of sorts very well, and moving on to the quarters, getting and showing that they are probably underdog and quite the robot to look out for.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like Hydra last season. Never underestimate even a high 20s or 30s, level 30 seed, and Ribot being the 28 seed. And like ever since those three losses, like Ribot's just come out of nowhere in dominant fashion. First it was Scorpios, then last round it was Quantum, this time Black Dragon, and definitely Ribot's shown that they're still absolutely a robot to watch out for, and it'll be interesting to see how they prepare for their next match, which is another rematch. So, another one that they lost to as well. So it's another one where they're looking to settle the score, even though I don't think there's really that much beef between them or the Waiachi crew. But I'm looking forward to that match. Hatches. I like their first showdown, and I bet we'll see a second awesome showdown. So sad to see Black Dragon go out in the top 16 because they were one of my favorites, and but it was great regardless. So yeah. Anything else? Anything else left to talk about, Derin?
I don't really have anything. No, I can't really think of anything.
That's fair. So yeah, great start to the episode. Well done to Ribot for getting this W and advancing to the next round. Let's talk about the next match. Wish I could have had a better image for this one, but one of the best I could do here. Basically, Witch Doctor and Lockjaw. So two robots that have been here since the beginning of Battlebots, at least when it was revived on Discovery, or not Discovery, ABC. So, uh, and yet this is the first time they've met in the Battle Box. So this is another one where I was expecting a knockout in this one, which I was going for betting Witch Doctor was going to take this one. But I didn't think this fight was going to be as quick as it was, basically. Like, Witch Doctor but I shouldn't be too surprised about it because it's just Witch Doctor doing Witch Doctor things, and we just got to see him just outreach Lockjaw and just dismantle them that way. Crazy stuff. So, yeah, you want to talk about the match, Darren?
This is a pretty good match between two robots that haven't ever fought each other. Witch Doctor using forks again because I think the fact that Witch Doctor decided to use forks shows how seriously they were taking this fight against Lockjaw because Don Hudson is pretty damn good at this. Uh, such pretty good fight. Witch Doctor managed to get around to the side, snipe some wheels, then caused Lockjaw to do like a full 360 something in the air and hit its own drone out of the sky, which was just wonderful. I think that's the second time Witch Doctor's managed to manage to disable Spitfire, because
Yep.
I think it also did it with the Sub-Zero match, so that's good. Um, what else was there? Um, hmm. Uh, and then just eventually just Witch Doctor got the win, quick and easy, and yeah, it's just a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
Not really much else to say.
Yeah, pretty quick fight. Probably what you want when you're in this round of the tournament, at least. Just because major damage accumulations. I imagine Witch Doctor's gone through quite a few spare parts through this, and so quick fight means less repair work to do. So bravo to Witch Doctor. Yeah, this one just relates a lot to the mini bots opening, basically, where we saw Witch Doctor take out Spitfire for the second time, as Darren said, and what Balbot said in the episode. Because, yeah, Witch Doctor did KO Spitfire when they fought Sub Zero last season. And, yeah, but pretty much like we summed it up, this is just Witch Doctor doing Witch Doctor things. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the outcome would have really been any different if they didn't use forks, but I think Darren had the right idea when mentioning why he thinks Witch Doctor went with forks for this one, just because Lockjaw does play the fork game very well in this sport, and definitely not one to be messed with. So yeah, great victory by Witch Doctor all around, and it'll be exciting to see what they can do in the next round because their next matchup is one that I've been wanting that matchup for a while, and so that's probably the fight I'm most excited for. But we'll talk about those fights later in this podcast. So sad to see Lockjaw go out in this round, but I bet we'll see. I bet I bet we could be seeing Lockjaw in Battlebots Champions once again. From what I heard, that it sounds like some top 16 teams did partake in champions, so my guess is between the 8 robots we lost this round, I'm betting we're going to see probably some, but not all of them in champions. So Hopefully Lockjaw's one of them, but we'll see. So, anything else? Should we go on to fight 3? This
Oh
one,
boy.
and I really liked this fight personally, at least, and that's not just because these are two of my favorite robots going at it here. One of them being my pick to win the whole thing, and another one just being a robot that I'm a huge fan of. Yeah, it's Minotaur Malice, the battle between the 1 and the 17 seed. This was the debut of Malice's Big Spinner, Big Red Head, which Bunny mentioned they like to use against drum spinners, which they're up against a drum spinner right here, and we got some really ferocious shots in the first minute of this fight, and lots of them not favoring the top seed at least. And yeah, it was a nice recovery then from Minotaur, and then we got a bit of a pushing match. So, Derin, you want to talk about the match?
Pretty good match. Malice actually managed to get some good hits in at the start while the rep was still working, and then uh, and like I think in the post match review by some team or Malice team, the Malice team, Malice managed to break one of Minotaur's weapon pulleys, like the first time in like 20 years, which so that shows the power of Malice right there. But then Malice pulled a Malice and his weapon just died, and Minotaur pushed him around for the rest of the fight, and occasionally got the weapon up to speed, popped him a few times, and won the decision. Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I actually did just pull up the damage report basically. But yeah, you summed it up very well there. Basically started off really well. Fight started off great for Malice. Won the first few hits, including shattered the pulley that Derin was just talking about. But some impressive driving from Daniel Freitas managed to right Minotaur up, and where they went in for a couple big hits and basically unplugged their BEC connecting to the weapon, and also shattered the weapon bearing holding Malice's drum spinner in place, and that's what caused Malice's weapon to stop. But huge credit to Malice in this one. It's like regardless, they gave the 1 seed a major run for their money in this one. Started off the fight so strong in this one and got some very early shots in, and then continued to stay aggressive even though they weren't really winning the push fight for the most part of it. And yeah, like Malice just kept going, and it was an awesome sight to see. Like this truly has been an awesome season from Malice, in my opinion, and it'll be yeah. I also agree with the decision. Like Derin said, I thought it was a pretty easy one to call, but I still give Malice credit for hanging in there as well as Malice did. Sounds like Bunny did mention that they did fix the bearings thing for next season, so it'll be interesting to see what Malice brings into the coming seasons. So, uh, yeah, I'm not sure how much more there really is to talk about here. We should talk about what happened to Malice, what happened to Minotaur in this one, but anything else?
I can't think of anything else to say. It was just a good fight.
Oh yeah, this was awesome. Even if it did end in a pushing match for the second half of the fight for the most part, because Minotaur's drum spinner was still working, but it was an awesome fight to see, and the robot that I have winning it all moves forward. We interested to see if they can get past that top 8 robot, because that's going to be a tough fight for Minotaur, and that's going to be one thing where Minotaur can't be on the losing end to start the match, because their opponent for that top 8 match it's not going to be one that where Minotaur is going to get second chances like that. So we're going to see. So let's move on to the next match then. Fight number 4, and all I'm going to say right now is if you have any brackets that are still live right now, I give you lots of credit right now because we've seen quite a few bit on the stunning side, and I think that like if Cobalt and Monsoon or Ribot and Quantum didn't bust a lot of brackets, I think this one busted even more brackets. So Copperhead and Endgame for this one, and indeed I am one person who had Endgame going on to the next round in this match. But glad to see Copperhead perform as well as they did, including we got to see Endgame talk about the fight in the post show. So which is always an exciting thing to see. So yeah, Derin, you want to talk about the fight?
Yeah, I predicted Copperhead because we saw this fight last year. It was called Endgame versus Minotaur, and it kind of went the exact same way. Um, except, I'll give credit. Endgame managed to get the better on several exchanges before their weapon just locked up into the bearings, decided to go boom, which makes sense. Shows how durable Copperhead is to survive all those hits without really much of a scratch. And so then Copperhead went in with since then didn't have a weapon anymore and plucked off each of those forks like some crab legs. Just one, just another. It was like another one gone, then another one gone, then another one gone. Then it was just a flat face. And then Copperhead just kept going and kept eating off the armor panels. Credit to Endgame, they still managed to get a good couple of pushes in on like the sides of Copperhead and get like around him and such. That was driving right there. Good driving. And also, credit to them. Technically, everything still worked at the end of the fight. And also, I think this is the first time we have ever seen Endgame use its self-writing mechanism as a self-writing mechanism. So
Yes.
great, it does work. And then the end of the fight was kind of hilarious with Endgame driving forward, hitting like a seam, and then just falling on its face. It was like, I'm done. It's like it's just some people have called it relatable, and it just kind of, and it's like I give up. I've lost. Just I wave the flag of defeat. Let's go to the judges. That was that was hilarious. So
That's fair. Homelander over there, you want to talk about the match, aka
Yeah,
Civilian Arc?
yeah, I have an announcement to make. Endgame's a bitch ass motherfucker. It lost to Copperhead like it was shit, and the Copperhead crew, they're killing it as usual. They're gonna go all the way this year, and you know what? None of the bots stand a chance. Riptide more like rip, rip. That's all they're gonna be by the end of the fight. They're gonna rest in peace like a piece of shit. And then whoever they're fighting, Witch Doctor, more like Bitch Doctor. And
What if they fight
then
Huge?
Oh, if they fight Huge, they're fucked. But anyone else,
I'm gonna
because
be.
Huge is my winner. Huge was my bracket winner pick when the season started. So, I mean,
I mean, in my opinion, though, I actually have Copperhead taking out Huge in the final four.
that'd be dope.
Oh yeah, it would be dope. Regardless, I'd love to see either of those two robots in the final, but we'll see. That's assuming though Copperhead gets past Riptide and Huge gets past Witch Doctor though, which we'll see in the next episode. But
I think they both will win. I think.
yeah, my analysis on this fight, the most important part of the match, because there were no other good moments other than this one moment, basically. Endgame has a working self-writer. Yeah, we got to see Endgame finally self-right for the first time, and it wasn't even against a flipper. It was up against a freaking drum spinner right there. But hands down to Copperhead on this one. I don't think we've seen Endgame take damage like that since they fought Minotaur the first time, basically. And it's like Derin said, we saw Copperhead just pluck off all those wedgelets one by one, and Endgame's weapon locked up pretty early on in the fight, and it was a pretty dominant performance from Copperhead. Bravo to Copperhead for pulling it off and making it to the top eight. Yeah, yeah, I think that means we're gonna see a new champion this year. So
it does.
yeah, since Endgame was the last remaining robot who's won a title, so yeah, awesome to see Copperhead pull off this victory, and we'll have to see what Endgame pulls together, at least in the future, as for defenses against drum spinners, because clearly drum spinners are their Achilles heel in this one, and Yeah, I was hoping we'd get to see Endgame and Riptide this season, but maybe next season. Although to be completely honest, if there were any matchups I'd predicting to be happening next season, that's at the top of my list. So it should be awesome. So anything else left to say about this matchup, or should we move on?
We can move on.
Let's move on. Bravo to
Yeah.
Copperhead for pulling off what was probably a shocker to quite a few people, including myself. And let's move on to fight number 5, I believe it is. All right, this one, like, I love these two robots so much, but it still did make me sad to see Monsoon go out in this round after Monsoon's been showing that that robot is still a reign of terror, despite it not being in Battlebots since 2019. It's Monsoon and Saw Blaze, a rematch from 2018, one of the bigger upsets within that tourney. When Monsoon managed to take out Saw Blaze in that one of the higher seeds, and we get a rematch of these two, where JMO has mentioned a few times that he's got a score to settle with the Monsoon team. No bad blood between them, obviously, but uh, yeah. So I think the configuration stuff was pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. What are y'all's thoughts on the match?
Revenge. This I think it was let spoilers to the next few fights. I think this is an episode that can be best described as revenge is a dish. Revenge is a dish best served cold, because this is just every rematch. I think ended the exact opposite as the. I'm doing a crap job of explaining what I'm trying to mean here. Every rematch ended the opposite result as the first time the robots fought. There we go. In this case, Sawblaze, the last time these two fought, they were a lot slower. Sawblaze had the saw arm. It looked a lot more fragile, I guess, and a lot more awkward. So did Monsoon, to be fair. But this was a driving clinic by Jameson Go, as always. I think Monsoon got one hit on like the bottom and bent up like one of the forks, but didn't really affect anything. Then Sawblade was on top of Monsoon for the rest of the fight, slamming the thing down. Eventually, Monsoon's weapons stopped, hit the pulverizers, and then got tipped on its side and just kind of left there. Apparently, one of the hits I've heard like broke a gearbox in Sawblaze's weapon arm, but they got that fixed, so whatever. So yeah, great fight, great rematch of these two. Just stellar stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What you got, Civ?
Fuck Sawblaze. That's all I got.
Bravo to Sawblaze on this one. Like, this one was just another driving clinic from Jameson Go in this one. Took the hits quite nicely. Those those attachments on Sawblaze, I forgot what they called them. Did their job pretty well and took lots of the impacts from Sawblaze's bar, or from Monsoon's bar spinner pretty well, and Sawblaze managed to land some pretty big hits of their own, and even mentioned in their post-fight report that Monsoon, the top armor they had to protect their internals from Sawblaze's hammer saw was apparently the thickest armor they've gone up against, and they managed to penetrate it, which is all obviously impressive and shows just how lethal that hammer saw is. And yeah, a little bit of external damage, and then yeah, the damage that Derin mentioned. They posted a damage report, and I think Derin summed it up pretty well. And yeah, Monsoon lost their weapon, got stuck, and Sawblaze advanced to the next round where they are going to take on my predicted champ. So in a rematch, so we'll see if Minotaur can get some payback on Sawblaze, even though I'm sure there's no bad blood between those two teams. But
No, speaking of Brazilians, Green, I wasn't here for this, but are you gonna write an apology letter to Pori
no,
soon?
why?
Because, come on, man, Pori won.
He didn't write an apology letter to me when Black Dragon won the first time. And he didn't write an apology letter
Yeah,
to
but
me when Jackpot won earlier this season.
that's true.
But I do say bravo to Ribot for winning that fight. And yeah, because it was a pretty epic showdown like the first one was. So maybe next season we'll get a round 3 between Black Dragon and Ribot. So anyway, unless if y'all have anything else left to say, should we move on to the next one? Next one it is.
We should move on.
All right, this one, another rematch from 2020. Basically, we got Whiplash and Hydra. I was expecting this one was going to be a driving war, battle for who could control the fight better, and this one did not end up going like that exactly, because it seems like Whiplash was focusing more on doing damage with the spinner in this one, and Hydra looking to just do Hydra things and try to use gravity to their advantage and let that help them KO Whiplash in this one. So, yeah, this fight obviously, as I just said, did not go how I expected it to. Not because was predicting Whiplash to win this one, because I did have Hydra taking this one, but this one also ended in a knockout. Whereas last time it was a very close judge's decision. So, yeah, y'all want to talk about this match?
Yeah, so I was actually a bit worried for Whiplash going into this fight, because I actually talked with I think it was Google the other day, and he told me that like Whiplash was like barely functional when they fought Beta, and like they were having a lot of internal problems, so it was like a very lucky win for them against Beta. So I was very worried against for Whiplash against this fight, and yeah, this kind of went how I expected after I heard the Whiplash troubles it had in the Beta fight. So yeah, very sad that my runner-up pick went out very early. My entire bracket's fucked at this point. The only bot I have in the top 4 that's still here is huge. So god damn it.
I have 3 of my top 4 still in. Keep going, Civ.
Well, that's all I have. You can go, Derin.
Uh, this one about as well as I expected, considering Whiplash's uh season. It just yeah, Whiplash is having a rough time. They tried to do they tried to sort of play each other, try and get around each other and poke in. But just Hydra got under him, flipped him a couple times. Whiplash ripped off its own armor panel, and then it got stuck on its back and just died. That's kind of a good apt something for, I don't know what the word is. It kind of sums up its season. It's just been a struggle fest for them. But yeah, good win for Hydra. They move on and go into another rematch against Ribot, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, this fight went a bit quick compared to what I was expecting, but I did not know that Whiplash was apparently having such problems internal-wise, even in the beta fight and coming into this one. That definitely would make sense because it looked like Whiplash's drive was starting to give out, including it doesn't look like their wheels were spinning at the end of that match, like as if they might have just lost power right there. At least that's what it was looking like, at least to me towards the end of that match. Was a sweet overhead shot that Whiplash got from the backside, like what they're aiming at right there in that image. But yeah, was a solid win for Hydra. Sadly, didn't give Whiplash a lot of airtime, at least in this one. And I think the driving might have been a little shaky on Hydra's end, at least, because they mistimed quite a few flips in that fight. But they did get the job done and managed to do what they needed. And one of the robots that I have in the top 4, it just advanced with that win right there. And
You had Hydra in the top 4.
Yep, I had Minotaur, Hydra, Endgame, and Huge in the top 4, and obviously one of those
You,
top 4 is out. So
you traitor.
what? Oh, no.
We're supposed to make fun of Hydra here, man. We're not. Don't have high hopes.
Who says? Who says?
Hydration homies.
I mean, if I was supposed to make fun of teams like that, I would have had Riptide out in the first round, but no, I had Riptide in the top 8. So,
That's true. Yeah.
but I can still make fun of Hydra even if I have them going far. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I'm guessing that sums it up pretty well here. Is there anything else really to talk about this match then? Or should we move on to the next one? Fight number 7, I believe it is. Let's move on. All right, Huge and Mad Catter for this one. This one of the fights I was really confident in until hearing Martin Mason's strategy for this one. I still had Huge winning and was still somewhat confident, just had less confidence after hearing that Mad Catter was going to have a config for this match that involved them going for disabling Huge's spinner. And uh, I don't know if it worked to its full extent exactly. I'm not sure if that is what caused Huge to have some weapon problems, and which was actually reading their blog earlier on this match, so I do have info on what happened there if Derin or Civ haven't read it already or mentioned it. So, but it was a relatively decisive fight in this one, and you two want to talk about the match?
So, yeah. Okay. So I was a bit. I kind of understood the strategy a bit for Mad Catter. The best at this point, Huge is like the vertical tombstone. At this point, you can't really get too cute with shit. You just gotta. The best thing is to just disable the damaging part and then uh, just like evaluate from there. And they tried that, and then they got their entire wedge ripped off, which was a bit funny. But yeah, Huge's weapon is just so crazy this season. It's very fun to watch Huge finally get some juice in the frying pan because last all these previous brackets we've seen Huge just get like split apart, controlled, and whatever happened in the 2021 bracket, I forgot who they lost to.
Uppercut.
Uh, oh yeah, they got oh god that fight. Oh yeah, they got double KO'd. But yeah, Huge is finally getting matches in the bracket that actually work for them because a lot of these fights you see Huge just like you're like oh god. You see Whiplash in the 2020 bracket and you're just like oh the same thing's gonna happen probably. But this is finally like Huge's year, and I'm hyped for Huge to
Huge
have a
sweep.
giant nut to its wheel.
That's fair. And Jonathan did reveal in Sarah's podcast her 1 minutes with and then certain Roboteers thing that after Sarah asked him if he would attach a pair of huge eyes to the giant nut if they won it, he said he would attach a huge eyes sticker to it, and that's Sarah from Nelly the Ellie Bot. Definitely check out that channel because there's some interesting content on there and some pretty enjoyable videos. But Derin, you want to talk about the match?
As yeah, this is a pretty good fight. As Civlian Arc said, Huge has got a meta fight where they're fighting the meta, and they won pretty dang convincingly. That huge poo didn't work at all, and just attacked from above constantly, cut into the armor panels, cut into the weapon, and just is dominating the entire fight.
That's fair.
And the reason I want to clear the air because everyone is saying Huge deliberately wasn't spinning their weapon,
Not true.
and just conserving it or whatever. They weren't. According to Jonathan, weapon was like partially blocked on the inside because of a ching or something. I don't remember. I couldn't explain what he wrote in his blog post if I tried, but it kept getting stuck when they tried to spin up the weapon, and it only got into a position where it could spin up fully freely after the fight ended, which is why it spun up perfectly at the end. They got that fixed and such, so that's why the weapon wasn't really working. It was just kind of blocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, amazing fight, great driving from both of the robots. I honestly, looking at my bracket here, I don't really see anything stopping Huge from getting to the finals, unless Witch Doctor proves to be more of an issue than I can think of. But yeah, this is probably Huge's year. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm hoping.
Yeah. So my analysis of this, pretty good effort by Mad Catter here, because they did damage part of the wheels, which does worry me a little bit for when they take on Witch Doctor in the next round, because I would say Witch Doctor has a much harder hitting vertical spinner in this one, and Mad Catter might have exposed something that Witch Doctor could possibly take advantage of, because those wheels are not as indestructible to vertical spinners as what a lot of people might think. So, and Mad Catter just proved that a bit by taking off a few chunks of the wheels. So, but well done to Huge. Like, I'm not certain exactly if I agree with what Derin said about the huge poon, because they did mention, at least in that blog, that they believe what caused the weapon to jam up or something like that is there was one moment where Mad Catter kind of popped up into the air, and they think that the lifting arm, I believe, with the huge poon on it or something like that, might have bumped it and jammed up the weapon or something like that. But I'm not certain about it regardless. But yeah, I think Derin summed up the blog pretty well. The weapon got jammed up basically to where it couldn't spin up for most of the match, but then got unjammed within the last 30 seconds, and we got to see it spin up at the end of the match, showing that the weapon was indeed still working. And personally, I think that is what I think Huge was winning that fight for like at the end of the bell, but I think that like secured my confidence that they were going to win that match. But pretty good effort from Mad Catter. They got a few good blows in. A few decent control moments at the end of the match. Looked like they were trying to push Huge into the screws or something. A great driving performance from Jonathan, once again, as he's had several of those this season. And this might be Huge's year, like what the others here have said. So, uh, yeah. Uh, thoughts on the decision, I guess, because I guess I have heard there are people out there who disagreed with this decision. Blaze. But
Blaze disagrees with the decision. Oh fuck.
yes,
Uh,
he's mentioned
huge,
it.
huge one.
Yeah,
Huge one.
they
I
were still
don't.
working entirely at the end of the match. They did more damage. Maybe they weren't as aggressive or whatever, not as much control. But who gives a damn? That's not what they were.
Well,
They still
that's the
controlled
thing.
part.
That's the thing with Huge is that you can't really expect a bot like Huge to be like hypershock levels of aggressive. You know, it's not. It's not this
Maybe
quick.
aggression they can do pretty well at, but control I can see them having issues.
Control is sort of with how well their weapon can take control of the match. I think like if Huge is able to get a robot up to on its side or something like what it did with Jasper or other robots, then I think that could constitute as Huge control. But either way, Huge won, and I don't really see an argument for Mad Catter.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed with the decision as well. I can see the argument for Mad Catter winning this if Huge wasn't able to spin up the weapon at the end of the match right there. Basically, yeah, if Huge didn't spin the weapon up right there, I might have actually had that one in favor of Mad Catter, but that's kind of what sealed the deal for me. Like, if Huge's weapon didn't spin up and it went to either one of these two robots, I wouldn't have cared that much because it was a super close, well, I wouldn't say exactly super close fight, but was pretty close point wise. How I scored the match, I gave Mad Catter aggression and control 2-1 for both of them, and then because of Huge's weapon spinning up, I went 4-1 damage for Huge. So yeah, 6-5 score right there for Huge, and good fight. So uh, yeah, it was good effort by Mad Catter, but sadly we'll have to see them go out. Hopefully we'll get to see Martin Mason in the arena once again, whether it's an exhibition or champions match, and yeah, looking forward to seeing Huge take on its next opponent, which is a match I've been wanting for a while. So, uh, yeah, shall we move on to? I think it's the last fight of the episode, actually.
Oh fuck this fight.
Oh, yep, this one. So,
Ugh.
yeah, this went pretty much exactly how I expected it to. What I was expecting to see here, one of them was going to make a driving error, the other was going to capitalize on it, and the one who made the driving error was going to go home in like a bin bag, basically. That's pretty close to what we got here. And yeah, Will made the driving error, like he said in his post-fight interview. Ethan took advantage of that, and Riptide ended up giving Hypershock a big ass whooping in this one. So, thoughts on the match at least?
Yeah, this was a very unfortunate driving error by Will, because you could tell that Hypershock's primed for a deep run. Like, they've got the bot locked down. They know what they're doing with it now, and it's just you're just not. There's always these like Hypershock makes a driving mistake, and it costs them. Like, I may have to rewatch, but this happened in the end game fight too. Like, they made a. I might be wrong, so don't take my word on that, but I remember they made a driving mistake, and that also costed them. So there's just a lot of, and it's not like Will's a bad driver. Like, nobody's perfect when it comes to the driving wheel. Like, I'm sure Green's favorite robot Minotaur has had driving mistakes before too.
Yep,
No one's judging, but
I would be able to
yeah,
name examples right here too. So,
this was just a very unfortunate instance where no bot can really make a mistake in this instance and live to tell the tale. I think, because I think if Riptide makes a mistake here, Hypershock ends its life, and if Hypershock makes a mistake like it just did, Riptide ends its life. And yeah, we finally got to see Vert hit a robot so high it hit the ceiling, which was fun as hell. But yeah, that was just that was explosive.
want to talk about the match, Darren?
Yeah. Sorry. Well, damn. Wow. Jeez, Will, that was a massive fuck up right there. Like, just great job. Just amazing job. My goodness, Will. Why did you? Who were they fought up until this point? They fought Claw Viper, which took a lot of driving skill. They fought Lucky, which also took a lot of skill. Against Riptide, you can't fuck up, and they fucked up massively with that opening attempt to get around him. They turned like way too early. They should have just went straight in. I think it would have ended maybe a little better. But just, that
I
was.
don't know about that, because Riptide's weapon is just like it's so explosive. It's very.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
any
know.
bot should take that risk. I think.
You have to have
Think
like the harder weapon, like S7. You have to take advantage of the material that I think Reptide's weapon is made out of, which is S7, and S7 shatters if you hit it right. And I think at that point you just gotta just shove something in there and hope it breaks. Goes full
right. Yeah.
like
It's just a
like
matter of
what?
like just a matter of if you're willing to risk your entire robotic career to do that or not.
Yeah, for
And
sure. Uh, yeah, I'll refer to what Brandon Zelinsky said when he appeared on the podcast last season after P1's fight with Saw Blaze. He basically talked about that lots of fights come down to who makes the first driving error. And that's pretty much what happened right here. And sad to see that Hypershock made the driving error. I like the idea and what he was going for, because I think that was the right idea for how Hypershock should take it to Riptide in a fight like this. And because I think, because I mentioned this in the prediction podcast, I was betting that a head-on exchange between these two robots would almost certainly go in Riptide's favor. So Hypershock's best bet was probably going to be do donuts around Riptide, take advantage of the gyro forces, or wait till there's an opening to hit like the sides, the back side of Riptide, and that looked like that was possibly what Hypershock was trying to do there. But like Derin said, I think he turned a bit too early, and Ethan capitalized on that mistake very well. Nice to see a robot hit the ceiling. I don't think it was the first one in history, because I think Hydra hitting Death Roll into there was probably the first one. But I think this one was obvious. This one was like the more clear and obvious one, because I think Death Roll like managed to do like a tap on the ceiling basically. Hypershock like holy crap, it went up and like a missile and actually did some arena damage. I'm sure Monsoon and the arena crew weren't the most pleased about that, but it was an awesome sight for us to see, though. Yeah, so Riptide just doing Riptide things and just showing why that thing is absolutely a force to be reckoned with and why it is a major contender to take home the giant nut this season. And well done to Riptide once again for another dominant knockout. So it'll be interesting to see what they do when they take on another drum spinner in Copperhead in the next episode, and who seems to be Civ's current prediction to win the whole thing. But
No,
that should.
no, it's still huge.
Oh,
I
it's still
think
huge.
huge is huge is just insane this season. I don't, especially with the bots left, because thanks to my hatred for Saw Blaze, I have Saw Blaze going out at 8, and then I have the finals being who is it again? It's who's Hydra fighting? Robot.
Hydra's fighting
Okay,
Ribot.
so oh, I have a Minotaur huge final.
Out of curiosity, what was your top four, at least coming into this episode?
So my
Or
top
coming
four
into
coming
prior?
into so round of 32, it was supposed to be a Cobalt, Whiplash, Endgame, and Hydra and huge. And then when Cobalt left because Tom Brewster hates me or something, I don't know. It was supposed to be Minotaur making top four in substitute for Cobalt. So I guess there's that.
That's fair. And I was not meaning to offend you in any way when I was making fun of the fact that I still have 3 Final Four robots in there.
Oh no,
Because
I
we have fun.
get it.
We have fun, obviously.
You're just better at predicting than I am.
I don't know, but
Um.
what you got, Darren?
Oh. I will say I did like the interview after the fight was actually quite well done. The Riptide team seems to have finally learned how to properly conduct themselves. I must offer my kind of.
Yeah,
It's
I'd say
better. It's
kind
an
of.
improvement.
I would agree with that.
It's an improvement. They're making it. That's a step in the right direction. And Ethan did say that the combination of both weapons hitting each other upside down and right side up was probably why Hypershock hit the roof. So that's good. Giving credit. That's again, That's good. I'd also like to quickly mention the. Are we going into? Are we going to talk about the post show?
We will,
Okay.
we will, which will be next. But
I
All right.
didn't want to take.
I'll stop.
yeah, I would
I-
agree with you right there. But I do like how Battlebots. They talked about the drama with Riptide a lot less than what I thought we were going to hear, at least in this episode, which I appreciate because I think Battlebots has gone a bit too far and over the limit when it comes to talking about lots of the Riptide drama, basically, from this season, and lots of the controversy involving that team. But yeah, they minimized it a bit compared to previous episodes, at least, which I like. Like I knew they were going to talk about it at least at some point. It's just they didn't bring it up like 3 or 4 times at least, like what I was personally predicting based on what we've seen in the previous few episodes. So, yeah, Civ, was there something you were wanting to mention?
No, no, I was just agreeing with the whole Riptide Shatter shenanigans.
That's fair. But Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to talk about the post fight things? So
So I'll be completely real here. Try and weigh in as best as I can, but I have not watched.
that's fair. Derin, you want to talk about the post show?
This is a pretty good post show, but again, as always, I love the post show. We had we had a great moment with the endgame team showing off their damaged robot, and Will coming in and being an absolute jokester with the damage report of his robot as well. Great stuff. And him offering a very insightful, I think one of them not offering a kind of insightful comment on the future of weapons being wide, no nonsense fronts, like wide drum spinners, which, yeah, probably. um, what else was there? And they talked, I think, to Ethan and Jake. That was pretty well done. Another appearance from Bob the Builder. And yeah, pretty good overall. Um, Good post show. Love it because it's just good. And that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, I was a fan of it as well. I've said it many times before. I'll say it once again. I like how Battlebots is getting the builders way more involved and giving insight on the show, basically. Whether it's having Roboteers commentate for a fight along with Chris and Kenny, or this, where we've gotten to see some damage reports from robots and basically talk about what their strategy is going to be like for their upcoming matchups, and that's what we got. Started off with, like Derin said, we got to hear Will and the end game team talk about their matchups and talk about the extent of the damage they took, which was awesome to hear. And listening to the endgame and Hypershock teams talk about the future of BattleBots, like Derin said, and on especially the part on how forks are starting to become less and less the answer, because there are teams like Riptide where they might have forks, but definitely that's not the only thing that's been helping Riptide. That's not really the main thing that's been helping Riptide win a lot of their fights here. So, and then following that, we got to hear from Jake and Ethan. Hear them talk about their recent match and talk about their upcoming matchups, which was always fun to hear. And yeah, it should be great stuff going forward. Any other thoughts on this, or should we move on to the upcoming matchups? All right, upcoming matchups. So, a couple rematches, both on one side of the bracket. We got Minotaur and Saw Blaze, the 1 and the 8 seed, going at it next week. Hydra and Ribot, another rematch, which both of them from last season. The 4 and the 28 seed, but almost flipped seeding wise because it was a 2 versus 31 battle last time. Riptide and Copperhead battle between two drum spinners, two different types of drum spinners at least. And then Witch Doctor and Huge, a matchup I've been wanting for a long time. So yeah, the next episode is just going to lead up to we're going to see who's going to be the one hoisting the giant nut at the end of that episode. So, y'all want to share your thoughts on the matchup and who you think is going to win it all?
So before I mention my prediction for the winner, I just want to say that this might be the most amount of top 8 seeds we've had in the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
Because we have 6 out of 8 top 8 seeds here.
yeah, and I also want to
Uh,
mention that I was thinking about this right before we started recording this thing, but this is the first time since 2018, I believe, where all four of the top four seeds are still in it right now.
oh, in 28. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying then, yeah.
But yeah,
'Cause
it's
I
crazy the
can.
number of high seeds because like only one non-top only one non-top 10 seed is still in it, that being Ribot, which is like you said, Civ, nuts. So,
Yeah, this top 8 is just very. You don't expect this type of top 8 to make bracket, because, like, look at back at 2020. These are a lot of, like, very competitive and very household robot names. You had Hydra, Whiplash, Sawblaze, Endgame, and there's still household names in this quarterfinals do, like Minotaur, Saw Blaze, Hydra, and Witch Doctor. But then there's like bots that they're good robots, but like you've never really shown that they'd ever make quarterfinals. Like Ribot obviously made quarterfinals 1 year, and I never thought they'd make quarterfinals again. And then you have Copperhead, who I kind of lost faith in after the Ripperoni fight. So it's very nice to see a lot of underdog teams make it this year. I know the 1-3 record has kind of been a bit of a controversial thing in the BattleBots bracket thing, but I think it's nice to see an underdog like Ribot make it in, even if it allegedly doesn't deserve it, or if it does, whatever. Um, so for Minotaur versus Sawblaze, I hate Sawblaze, so Minotaur wins it by default. Hydra versus Ribot is an interesting one because I think I think Ribot has improved immensely, and I don't think it'll have the same issues it did previously against the Hydra fight. It's mainly a question of what weapon they use because Auto Spinner has much more purchase. With the vertical spinner, it's over. Like, I think one hit from the vert can do it, but Hydra can take a lot of horizontal hits, but Robot can land more horizontal hits is the thing. Whereas the vert, there's more of a one hit and it's done, but how are you going to get that one hit type of deal? For now, I think I'll say Hydra, but it's anyone's guess at this point. Ribot has been such a wild card this year. One day they might be looking like shit, and then the other day they might be looking like Hercules when Zeus came along. You never know. And then for top right, Copperhead, Riptide, that's gonna be a very fun fight because it's two very destructive verts, but there's just a system with Copperhead that I don't really think Riptide can counter unless it gets to the side, which is Copperhead's low ground. Because Copperhead's low ground is essentially its drum spinner. That's the low ground right there. If Copperhead hits you with the drum, that's how it gets under you. And we've seen that with Rotator. We saw it with Endgame. And I'm gonna go Copperhead here, but a very big question mark on Copperhead. Because Riptide's just insane, and it can kill you in an instant. And then Huge versus Witch Doctor. I don't have hope for Witch Doctor here. I'll be real. I don't. I'll be. Their weapon is powerful, but I just don't see them landing anything that Mad Catter didn't land. I don't think they can do any more than Mad Catter did. And then for semifinals, Hydra, Minotaur. Minotaur is gonna beat Hydra, like no question. There's just Daniel Freitas is just too like just he's too unpredictable of a driver to beat. You don't know where he's gonna go after you first. So I don't think Jake's strategy can really anticipate Minotaur's driving at all. And then Huge versus Copperhead. I don't see Copperhead winning that, unfortunately. I don't think their drum is good enough, and I'm a bit wary of their drive because their drive in the endgame fight wasn't the best either. They were still running a bit slow. And then Huge versus Minotaur. Huge is gonna win because Huge is. I just don't see. I think Minotaur would do more than Witch Doctor and Mad Catter, but I don't see them doing anything that can KO Huge in the end. Because I think Huge will hit a wheel or something before Minotaur rips out an entire wheel. But yeah, Huge is gonna win it all. W Huge.
It's fair. What do you think, Derin?
Wait. Gee. Minotaur Saw Blaze. I kind of think this will go like it did last time. I think Saw Blaze is just very well driven, and will hopefully ping him up a couple times, and maybe this time we'll see more fire. I don't know. Hydra Ribot. It really depends on a lot of things. Hmm. I'm not sure who would win that one, to be honest. Really depends on how durable Hydra is and how well driven Ribot is. So, answer who'd win that one. Riptide Copperhead again. That's just down. That comes down to driving, how well one robot is driven versus another. So I can't really. I don't know who'd win that one either. Witch Doctor versus Huge is ironically probably one of the more easy matches to predict. I think Huge is gonna win that one. I really don't see what Witch Doctor can do to them. They have like a secret configuration.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Who do you got winning it all as of now? You
I
don't have to
Huge.
answer that if you don't want to.
Huge.
That's fair.
I got Huge.
Alright, so I'll talk about these 4 matchups. Minotaur and Saw Blaze. I got Minotaur winning that one, but that's gonna come down to driving basically. So I think Minotaur's big strategy is probably gonna be try to bend the forks on Saw Blaze, and like what they seem to be trying at the start of the match when they fought last time, and we're succeeding at first, but it's going to come down to driving, and I think if Minotaur can avoid getting scooped up by Sawblaze and deliver massive shots to the frame of Sawblaze, I think they could win this one by KO. But yeah, I think that's a tough one to call for sure. So I am nervous about that one too, because I think out of all the robots, at least on this bracket, I think Sawblaze and Huge are probably the biggest threats to Minotaur, at least on this bracket. So, yeah, once again, we'll come down to driving and who can deliver those hits better between the two of them. So, Hydra and Ribot, I see this one a lot like Witch Doctor and Red Devil from 2016. And basically, the comparison I'm going to make here is what configuration could Ribot go with compared to what Red Devil did when they fought Witch Doctor. Because basically what Red Devil talked about right before, if you don't know, Red Devil is debating between going with a plow, so that way they have some extra defense against Witch Doctor's spinner, or use the claws like they did. And they went with the claws configuration because while it was a lot riskier, they knew that if they were able to succeed with that strategy, they would for sure win the fight. That's what I feel about with Ribot here, and whether they'd go with the undercutter or the vertical spinner here. Because what I'm about to say here kind of lines up a lot with what Civ said earlier. I think if Ribot went with the undercutter, I think that one's kind of like the safer route at least, because the undercutter has a lot more bite in it than can get a lot more bite on Hydra, like what we saw last time these two robots fought. But then I think what they went with the vertical spinner, it's riskier, but I think they can win if they can succeed with the strategy. They would, because if they go with the they gotta outwedge Hydra, which is not an easy strategy. But if they can outwedge Hydra, I think Ribot wins if they can succeed at that. If they were to go with the vertical spinner. Jake did tease in the post-fight thing that he's heard murmurs that Ribot might be going with the vertical spinner for this fight. It wasn't confirmed whether that's true or not, but I'm still gonna go Hydra on this one. But like that's kind of my analysis basically, because like I think Hydra still has the edge design wise on this one, because I think if Ribot does go with the vertical spinner, like I said, Ribot's got to outwedge Hydra, which is a huge risk, just because Hydra is like one of, if not the best sets of ground game forks, at least in this one, and they proved it over and over again. So yeah, and then undercutter here. If they do go with the undercutter, I'm anticipating a similar result to last time, but yeah, that should be a good fight though. So Riptide and Copperhead, that's going to come down to driving once again, basically. I think Copperhead's big shot is going to be attack Riptide at a certain angle. Because I think if these two robots go face to face, I think Riptide's probably going to win those weapon on weapon exchanges because their Egg Beater has a lot of reach. But I think if Copperhead could target one of the axle areas and attack Riptide from an angle, which Luke does pretty well, at least in some of these fights, I think Copperhead could pull this one off, and I have Copperhead winning this fight. So, yeah. And then Witch Doctor and Huge. Thank you, Battlebots gods. I've been wanting this fight since 2019, and we're getting it right here. So, I got Huge winning this one, but I think Witch Doctor. I think Witch Doctor is not one to be underestimated in this one because I kind of anticipate a similar strategy from Huge for this fight. But the one thing I gotta say about Witch Doctor compared to Mad Catter is that Witch Doctor has a harder hitting weapon, and I would consider Witch Doctor to have the more reliable weapon too. So I do think Witch Doctor is going to struggle with the shape and the design of Huge, but I think Witch Doctor could put up more of a fight with their vertical spinner while it's working at least than Mad Catter was able to, and possibly take some more chunks out of those wheels or something. Because Mad Catter did expose slight weakness in those wheels of Huge, so but it should be a good fight, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I have Minotaur winning the whole thing. So, and 3 of my final 4 is still in it right now, as for my original bracket, so. But sadly, the one I lost happened to be my runner-up, so. That always happens whenever I do bracket predictions. It's always like the first one of my final 4, I end up losing the runner-up first, and then always, I think it's the third one is always my predicted champ, if my champ doesn't win it, so. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty reasonable description of what I got there. So, yeah, anything else on this, or should we close out this podcast?
I think we should finish off.
Anything else from you, Siv?
For this video today.
That's fair.
Yeah. Also, you should subscribe to me because I'm finally gonna be posting videos again. Holy shit!
Oh my gosh. And
It's
yeah,
been like.
are we gonna
like
see
9
Battlebots
months.
Annihilation stuff? Finally?
Maybe.
He gives a
Maybe. I'm gonna probably grind out some streams first. We'll see how that goes.
Which speaking of that, I might as well make an announcement right here. Starting this week, I'm planning on streaming once again. My goal is this Wednesday, I'm going to do a Robot Arena 2 stream featuring the Battlebots pack, Good Rebel mod. At least that's the goal as of now, unless if I have to cancel. And then starting then either later this week or next week, I tend to get to more routine basis. But I am considering moving over to Twitch for most of these streams. This one for sure this week will be a YouTube one, but I think I may move to Twitch starting next week at least. I don't have any problems with like the YouTube base or anything like that. Just like I want to try something different at least, if you kind of get what I'm talking about there. So I got lots of fun games
And you
in
can
mind.
put the VODs on YouTube. You can put the VODs on YouTube also, so it's
Yeah,
not like
that was something I was
really...
thinking of because like I was looking at streaming some of my FPS shooter games, specifically the Borderlands series, and I was thinking about making a couple walkthrough videos out of those streams, and I think it'd be fun. But anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and close out this podcast. So thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe as usual. Civlian Arc and Derin's channels will all be located in the description. Definitely subscribe to both of them as well. Sounds like Civ will be finally grinding out some content, and Derin occasionally posts some videos, some fight videos. Yep.
Should have some in about a week, actually. I'm going to an event in a week, so more stuff for me.
So yeah, subscribe to Derin to check out those fight videos. And yeah, once again, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.